So I'm Sumith. I'm a product manager by profession, but I do a lot of mobile stuff in my own spare time. And this talk is about the journey that we took to build an app that is a KarmaApp, and then why we chose Flutter and Firebase. I've been building products for the last 20 years. I was working as a CTO, architect, so I was trying to bring in all my expertise when we were thinking about this app, and then Flutter came in. So we were like, okay, we should actually look into that. So I'm going to take you through a journey. What we're going to cover is we're going to cover some basics, what Firebase can do, what Flutter can do. We're going to then look into what type of architecture did we use. Yeah, it's a very simple architecture. And then the data and the models that we chose when we are thinking about building an app like that. So KarmaApp, a lot of text in there. Yeah. In simple words, what it was is basically you want to do something good within the community. You have an idea where you want to engage people, and then when you bring in people and if they do something good, you gain points. So that was the whole thing. Make yourself feel good. And while you're doing that process, you can actually redeem points for doing something else. For instance, you can actually say, well, I would like to volunteer for London Marathon and do some cleanup of all the bottles that's been thrown during the run. Yeah, so those things. And while you're doing that, you're getting points. And the point system could help you to actually get more engaged. Yeah, so you feel better about yourself, like, I did something for the community, and also I'm getting back from the community. So that was the whole idea behind the app. There was a bit of a push from Google being for good for this, so we actually went with building the app. So while doing that, we said, okay, how we're going to do it? So random people, not many of us actually in this space knew Flutter or Firebase. Yeah, so it was Prajit who actually had the idea. He's the founder and the idea guy. We were talking, and we were like, okay, let's see how we can build that KarmaApp. I was in product space, so how and what and why we want to do this, and who is our audience for that, and also doing some architecture. And then we have aspiring developers who are full-stack developers, building web stuff or JavaScript. And they're like, okay, we're not sure what we should be doing. Yeah. So we spent. So that was our team. We spent some time during ideation, and a few of the requirements you may have heard, or this happens to most of the apps, is it should support all the devices. It should work in multiple devices like iOS and Android. I need to go fast to the market. Yeah, we just have 3 months, because the funding that we are going to get from Google is going to be, over. And it should be low cost, yeah, and high impact. We need a dashboard for web also, so that people can do some kind of management with that. It should also be multilingual because this was done in Sweden, yeah. So they wanted to make sure that Swedish as well as other audiences, so we can actually tap to the market outside. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, how should we build this app? What technologies and will fit these requirements? We need to make it easy for us to deploy, yeah, and also make sure that we don't burn the money, yeah? So control the cost. And then the usual, the scalability and maintainability comes into mind. So we didn't want it to just do an MVP. We wanted to make this a real thing. Yeah, so it should be scalable if we go and it go viral. And we should also make sure that it is maintainable. Okay. So that was our initial ideation. We went Figma, like, if you want to actually build an app, make sure that you actually do this part first, yeah. So ideas, the user journeys, and the flow. So we had a Figma with around 60 plus pages or 60 plus screens in here, yeah. And during this process is when we identified, what different app will look like for different type of devices. Yeah, so that's the process we took. So if you look here, you kind of see like, the user has to log in. The user has to create some events, yeah, so that the others can join those events. You also can see some kind of profile and friend partner / friend management in here. And then you need to also keep track of the points that you're gaining and how you're gaining it. So you kind of need some validation and approval processes when you're actually approving someone to be a volunteer for an event. So there's like a lot of that kind of stuff in there. Yeah. So how do you gain points? And then making sure that it is being vetted properly, yeah, because people will say, well, I worked for it and I'm not getting anything out of it, yeah. So that's where we wanted to make this a bit more vetted, yeah. And we were targeting NGOs and people who are nonprofits to actually jump into the platform, and then they invite other people for vetting. So back of my mind, yeah, is basically, okay, we got a huge technology landscape in here. You know, we have multiple operating systems. We could, so backend wise, you know, most of the guys were familiar with Node, Python, Java. And then in the cross-platform world, we have seen it. I've been burned a few times, yeah, with jumping onto something before. So we thought, okay, Flutter could be. It's in the list. So Flutter could be one of the cross-platform tool that we can actually look into. So I think you've been here all day, yeah, and we know that so the requirement was it should support all devices, iOS and Android, yeah. And then when you look into what Flutter promises, it says, okay, it's a tool to allow native cross-platform built for iOS, Android, and other platforms. Yeah, it used to be iOS and Android, but it's just been going around, and that's something you may have heard this morning. It's an SDK, so it can compile to native. So it's not like a bridge or something like that. It is really compiling to native. And also, it has extensive widget that you can actually tap to when you're building an app. Yeah, so that was in the mind when we are thinking support for iOS and Android. Okay, that ticks the box for us. Okay, then when you are building an app, other thing comes in, and when we saw the UX, we need to store information. We need to actually gather information, and there are different ways of doing it. You can say, okay, for an app, I can think of SQLite, yeah, storage, local storage. Oh, well, I can actually then maybe jump in and create my own custom APIs, yeah, and use some kind of backend, yeah, for that. So that could be SQLite. I'll actually go through the multiple API layers and build that. Or I could, and heard about Firebase. Maybe I can look into that, yeah. So these were the things in consideration when we were thinking of storing based on the UX that was provided for that app. So what does Firebase give? So Firebase is a PaaS, yeah, backend as a service. From the design we saw earlier, we also need to think of storage, data. And Firebase is not the only player in the game. We have other players like AWS Amplify, Superbase, nHost, MongoDB, Realm, AppWrite, and Parse. Yeah. So when I was evaluating that, Firebase came kind of on top as like a lead in the backend as a service space, and that's what we're going to look into today. Why does it fit into most of the use cases that we wanted to use it for? Okay, so it's a BaaS. And if I can see, so the requirement was from the UX, we need to actually support authentication, database, so we can store the events and also see if people can flag it. We need to also store some stuff, which is basically, I know you can't see, it's like images and PDFs over here. And then we need to also provide some kind of notifications for the users, yeah. So in-app notification and everything else. So these were the things I was looking for, and that's the UX for that. And I'm saying, okay, who can support that? And it's not that the others cannot, but let's see if Firebase fits the bill. Okay. So the first thing is basically, again, when you look into the Firebase documentation, and when you look at the Firebase documentation, the mission from Firebase is basically to help app developers succeed when you're building an app. Yeah, and how you can do that is actually supports multiple client SDKs. And I think we already decided on Flutter before, yeah, because it's cross-platform, it can do iOS, Android, It's okay, so there is an SDK for that. And then the other developers in my team were back-end full stack, yeah, who are also familiar with JavaScript. So JavaScript tick in the box, and Flutter tick in the box there. Yeah, so it supports those two client SDKs. That is a need for us. Yeah. So it met our app requirements. Yeah, and then Firebase actually takes all the common problems that we had in terms of providing SDKs with the functionalities that we needed to build an app. So a quick one. So the early days, I took a screenshot of that. Yeah, it's basically we just had like an app, which is the app itself. We wanted to make sure that we're trying to do some screen testing. So like take a screenshot of what we built, so you can test against the screenshot of what we achieved. Then we have docs, functions, etc., etc. So we started to actually build upon this. Yeah, so that's the structure that we went. So we needed a website at the same time for admin, at the same time an app, and then we hope we would be looking into functions. So that's kind of an initial code structure. Yeah. Okay, moving on to the real thing. Yeah. So going back to Firebase. So. If you remember the requirements, it's ease of deployment. We need to control cost. The gauge I took was basically what is popular, what features fit in, and also the pricing. So those were the three things that actually will help me decide on the ease of deployment and the cost. Yeah. And then when I looked back into Firebase, we have something called as authentication that we saw, Firestore, which is a database, storage, and messaging. So these were the four products of Firebase that could fit in the bill for us when we are actually thinking of building an app. So who's using Firebase here actually on a daily basis? Oh, wow. So I think I would be preaching the professor here then. Yeah. So these are the different categories of products that Firebase you can use for. So to build better apps, you can actually use Firebase authentication, Cloud Function, Cloud Firestore. So I went in to the Firebase site and saw the capabilities of the platform. Yeah. So to building apps, you can use auth, Cloud Function, storage. To think of what can you do for app quality, those were the products over there: crash analytics, test lab, app distribution. And then to have more engagement with your users, these were the functions or features that the product can provide. Okay. So authentication. Okay, we have a login screen. And if you look into this screen, what we can see is basically we wanted to support multiple authentication. So login with Google, Facebook, maybe a custom one, yeah, just someone coming in as a volunteer. He doesn't want to provide much information. Yeah, so continue with anonymous account. So we wanted to provide that, and the back of mind is authentication. Yeah, we saw that there is a feature in Firebase which can do it. Okay, so what is that? Yeah, so Firebase Auth, it's an identity as a service provided by Firebase. Yeah, and authentication is different. It's difficult. Yeah, when you're actually thinking of, you need to think of security constraints. You need to also think of GDPR, what information you want to collect and store. Yeah, it also supports email and passwords. So one of the things that we wanted, and if we actually ever thought of scaling up, we could actually use our own IDP. Yeah. Then we can use a phone number and custom auth for that. So it actually ticked all the boxes for us when we were actually thinking of implementing Firebase Auth. How does it do it? Yeah. So this was very important for the team. So I'm almost like educating the team because they were new to me, to Firebase and Flutter, saying, okay, how does it work? Is it a real thing that we wanted to use? Yeah. If you look at it, it actually provides multiple providers here: Firebase, Google, Twitter, and any other authentication, and creates a token. So if you actually use the same kind of information with a different provider, the token is the same. Yeah, so you can actually switch between providers without actually changing the user there. Yeah, so that's a feature we wanted to use. Makes sense. Yeah. So the next problem that we had was basically data. Okay, so if you look at the screens, we wanted to make sure that the events are there in some kind of format in a database. The user can apply for volunteering. User can upload some information, and actually during the upload, they can actually then sign a PDF that is to be securely stored in a particular location. Yeah, so the answer for that is Firestore, maybe, or the storage itself. Yeah, so what is that? So again, looking back at Cloud Firestore, yeah, we can say it stores and syncs data in real time. Yeah, so you're actually storing the information, and then it is accessible for you using the SDK that was provided by the Firebase team. It's a NoSQL document, and it's a collection structure, and that actually is some eyebrows. Like, okay, guys, we are used to SQL, yeah, which is relational. I don't know how this works. Yeah, so that was like, oh, NoSQL, no. What about relationship? And how can I handle that? You can handle it because I saw a lot of hands raised, so it definitely you guys know that it actually works. Yeah. The other thing about Cloud Firestore is offline handling. Yeah, so you can if you can actually store offline, and then when you come online, you can actually automatically push it back to the cloud. And another thing in that in the problem statement was scaling. So as your user grows, your database grows. You just have to pay more. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but you don't have to think of scaling yourself. Yeah, if you are actually creating an API layer for a database. So that also fits a bit well for us. We were thinking of messaging, so multiple users can message each other. Yeah, and then there's another database type that Firebase provides, which is Firebase real-time database. Yeah, you just store stuff in JSON format as a tree, JSON tree. Real-time updates are actually passed through everything around. Yeah, so multiple devices can get real-time updates. Yeah, and real-time. So if I send a message, you just get it real-time. Yeah. So, and then it also handles offline, and it understands where you are, like which CDN are you close to, which region are you close to. Yeah, so it actually works with that. So we covered storage. We covered storage of database. We wanted to also store securely files, images, and assets. Yeah. So for that, the solution was cloud storage. Yeah, so we could actually use it to store and serve media and content. It also scales automatically, and it also uses edge caching. Yeah, so it is near to where you are asking the information to. Yeah. So that solves the problem for scalability of storage, asset, and security. Now, security was important because, again, we didn't understand it initially. And Firebase out of the box provides security by roles. Yeah, so you can actually then flag it as saying, okay, this is for this particular role, so no one else can access that. Yeah, so it's already inbuilt, so we don't have to do anything to actually cater to that. Okay, this is like, it can actually understand. So while you're actually doing an image upload, and if the connection is slow, yeah, it can actually do retries. Yeah, so the SDK can have the flexibility to do retries while the signal is slower. Yeah, and I'll also push it to the nearest region for you. Yeah, so that's that. So that when you're uploading it, if the device is offline, so offline support, when it comes online, you can actually get it back to the device in question. Yeah, so multi-device upload. Okay. Okay, how do you get it if you haven't done it before? Basically, go to console.firebase.com, create an account, add the Firestore database to your project, register your apps. Yeah, and I think in the latest version, yeah, they actually have a Flutter CLI, yeah, that you can use to actually automatically do all those things that is defined below. Yeah, so you need to change some. You need to do some magic, dark magic in the native folders and add those, but that has been actually fixed. I wouldn't say fixed, it's like a new feature where there's a Flutter a CLI that you can use when you are actually creating an app. So those were the steps, yeah. And to do all of that, so in terms of code, yeah, it's so simple. Yeah. So this is how you initialize. Where is that? Yeah, this is how you initialize your app on the main.dart. You says, okay, initialize and get a connection to your Firebase instance that you created in the console. Yeah, and then once you've done that, if you are using messaging, you can actually get a messaging token for your device, yeah, which we were, yeah. And then if you have, yeah, so, and then you have the user data and the auth service and the database service and other services defined for individual flows, yeah. So for instance, we want to store the user, yeah. So the initialization code is basically 2 lines here, yeah, and that's it. You've got connection to your Firebase store. Then the next thing is authorization, okay? How would you code for that? Again, I think this auth service file is basically 80 lines of code, not much, yeah? So auth service, you basically, if you are using Firebase messaging, yeah, which we were, you create an instance of that, and then you sign up or you log in, yeah, and then you're using the SDK to do the rest, yeah. Any questions or anything? No? Okay. So we got initialization done. We know the user by using auth service, yeah. The next thing is to basically either work with the user, yeah, so having his profile, or actually get the events from the database. Yeah, so events are stored in Cloud Firestore. Yeah, so in this case, again, we are just creating a snapshot of that. We're getting all the events by date time, and then we're just adding it to the list. Yeah, so just getting that. Yeah, and it's like trivial to do that. So our database service was around 120 lines of code for different types of events and users, which are volunteers. Yeah, so, okay, we wanted to play with storage, yeah, which is either assets or PDFs that we wanted someone to say, yep, sign, yeah. So that's kind of a code for that, where we are saying, okay, wanted to make sure that image is compressed while we are transferring it through the wire. Yeah, so we're not sending fat images of the event. And then I think I don't have the code for PDF, so it's almost the same thing. Yeah, you can upload a PDF, and then you can actually push the PDF on a secure location. So that's how we were doing the location. Like, and it could be asset/user ID/ that thing, and then the user ID would be constrained by the role. Security roles within Firebase itself in the Firebase console. So we are not doing anything on the front end to do that. Yeah. Okay. So that's ready. That's good. Yeah. We got database authentication, user information stored in the backend, files being transferred, yeah, and signed, yeah, and then all stored in Firebase. So that's all good. And then okay, crash. Yeah. So how would I know whether it was working or not? So we actually turned on the crash analytics. So it's a real-time crash and error reporting tool. So it starts reading it, yeah, and putting it in the dashboard for Firebase. You can actually group them by how impactful the error was, yeah, so that you can filter by them. And then you get a full stack trace and logs within the dashboard on the Firebase dashboard, yeah, so on the other side. Yeah, so you can actually see that real time when the user is actually using an app, why did the app crashed. Crash is okay, yeah, but what about performance? Because crash is crash. It could be that we were trying to send a big PDF file and we wanted to do something about it, yeah. So the other feature/functionality that we started using is basically app performance monitoring, yeah, which is just a flag that you turn it on the other side. And then it actually checks for app starts and the latency. It actually also understands the device information, like what device are you using, where was it used, was it on a Wi-Fi, was it on a 5G network, so network latencies, etc., etc. And then you can add custom trace. So if you look at The screen here, you know where are people using it from, what is happening with your app, when was error, when it was it slow, etc., etc. And I would suggest you guys to turn it on if you're using it for media or PDFs. So PDFs were one of the things where when we actually exposed it to a couple of NGOs, they wanted to make sure that they put a lot of information in there, yeah, like terms and condition for your volunteer, making sure that they're vetting it carefully. But the size of PDFs were huge. Yeah, so we were able to identify that we may need to add some compression while downloading those PDFs, so that when the user is looking at it or reading at it, or even change the user journey for the user, so that doesn't become a blocker for a volunteer to actually jump in for an event he's excited for. Yeah, and it's just a simple turning on the Firebase performance on the console. And you all know Firebase is a Google product, yeah. And one of the things when you actually create, and this is something to look out for also, when you actually create your project, yeah, it prompts for where do you want the Google Analytics to be, yeah, and the region is important. Yeah, so if you are targeting for users in Europe, yeah, basically make sure that you select Europe, yeah, UK or whichever. So that's that. It's free, yeah, and you can provide unlimited analytics. And why was it something that we were considering when we were actually thinking of building this app? Was basically this part, user segmentation and analysis. Yeah, so we were thinking of notifications, yeah, and we wanted to know who or what type of users are using this app, yeah, so that we can actually provide that level of notification to them. Yeah, so you can use, so it provides you with user segmentation and analysis of that. That could be exported to BigQuery. Yeah, so you can export that data to BigQuery for more analysis. Yeah, so you can actually then use maybe a marketing automation platform or maybe MailChimp to actually send emails to those users that you are segmenting for. So coming back to messaging, yeah. So we wanted to provide notification to all the users, and the solution for that was Firebase Cloud Messaging. So notification across all the platforms, which is Android, iOS, and web. In the previous slide, I mentioned about Google Analytics. So this is where we can actually start looking at the audiences and the targets that was in Google Analytics and target them for the messaging that we wanted to send. Yeah, so that actually helps you. And then you can actually bring them back to the app. Yeah, so someone says, okay, remind me. Like I think we are seeing that today. I don't know whether it was built on Flutter or not, but when you get when you save your event, it says, okay, come back to the app and then do something with it. Yeah, so that's the engagement that we wanted to do. And then I think on the previous slide I mentioned about GA. So one of our NGO was using it for exporting the data, so that they can actually use MailChimp to send people back to the app as a link. Yeah, so saying, oh, come back to the app, and there's an event for you. Yes, because you are interested in doing, I don't know, sea cleaning. Yeah, so something is kind of interesting for you. So that was the reason why we were using it. And it's so simple. Again, yeah, I think this is a piece of code that we used. We were actually using a package. That's why I actually added that here, which is some notification package. And then what you do is you actually define the channel, yeah, and then the group where the user can belong to, and then start sending them notification. Okay. The last bit again. So as I said, my team was. I think I knew Flutter. I knew a little bit Firebase. The founder heard about it. Yeah, it's like, okay, looks fine. And the two guys were basically in the space of, they've done some Android stuff. They'd never done Flutter or Firebase, yeah. And they don't know App Store, like App Store, yeah, there's an App Store. So we could do app distribution, yeah. So we could actually then distribute to an NGO without actually publishing, yeah. So get the apps to a tester quickly by providing their emails and those information. They can download it, yeah, and then get the feedback from them. It automatically collects, because if you remember a few slides back, we had crash analytics in there. Yeah, so the crash analytics then maps back so that if there are any crashes to the app which you wanted to test with either within your friend circle or within your the business that is funding you, you can actually then make sure that that is automatically collected, yeah, and fix the app, yeah. So it will use. It is very useful for identifying where the things are breaking up, yeah, early in the game. This is an interesting feature, yeah, which we used so instead of doing multiple deployments of the app for different type of users, yeah, we used Firebase remote config. It's almost like a feature flag, yeah, but on the server. Okay, so I think I don't have my bubble popping up saying why I did it. So the reason for that was basically we were providing an admin screen for NGOs, yeah, so they can actually do a little bit more administration during the early phase of the app, yeah. So either we could actually distribute app twice, yeah, one for admin and one for volunteers. Or we said, okay, we'll actually have a feature flag in there, yeah, for while they're testing it, so that they get the admin screen, yeah, when they open the app, yeah. So, so feature flag for modern apps, yeah. So you update the behavior remotely. So you're doing it on the server, yeah, saying true or false. You can actually. So when I spoke about volunteers and admins, you can actually then select an audience and customer targeting that you actually had with Google Analytics that was collected, and then target feature toggling or remote config for those audiences. Yeah, and that was a killer feature. I'm like, oh, okay, that's much easier than having more if and else and everything else in the app itself. Yeah, so same app, custom audiences and targeting. You can actually use it for A/B testing. Yeah, so you say, okay, well, everyone who is in Europe do something else. We are actually brainstorming it. Can we use it for multiple language support, like Arabic, Yeah, so on a remote, if you say, okay, people are from this region, yeah, they will be getting an inverted. Inverted version of the app rather than the usual. It's nothing but a key value pair in the cloud. Yeah, so it's just like any CI/CD platform that you have used with a key value pair when you're deploying it. Yeah, so it's just a key value pair in the cloud. What it does also is basically very cleverly caches it. Yeah, so it does not always. It's not very chatty. Yeah, so it just caches it, so it's back on the app itself. And then you start using it when you're targeting particular users. So what we also did is basically we provided some functionality during testing and further by writing some cloud functions. It's party time. I think I may have 4 more slides and then we can jump out. Yeah, 5 minutes. Yeah. So we got cloud functions. So in this case, what we are doing is we are actually sending using cloud functions. So I'm very comfortable for someone who has actually done Node before. Yeah. So it looks like a JavaScript. We are taking a device token. So same kind of code where we are initializing an app using that, and then we are sending some payload to a device, yeah, a targeted device, yeah. And you can do more with this. Yeah. So that's the cloud function that you can use deployed on Firebase. Yeah. So target users send us information using Node. I don't know whether you still remember the app itself. So one of the requirements from Prajit was, okay, we need to support multilingual, and we were not sure whether it is we needed to support it on the app itself or the content that the user was building. So if I actually says there's an event, I'm typing the event name and yeah, so we didn't want the admin to actually write the event description in multiple language. Yeah, so what we thought about here was basically use Firebase extensions. Yeah, and there is an extension where you can actually do. It's a Google extension. If you go to Marketplace, you can see translate. So you can actually use an extension and then point it to a Cloud Firestore data, and then automatically translate the results of the description. In our case, it was description. So we actually had description for different languages, and that was translated by Google Translate. So no code again. So automatically support for translation. We are actually exploring this. So people want to search. Right now, you can search for the event by name and some other information like who built it, but fuzzy search through description. Like anything within when someone has actually created an event. And we are looking at Algolia. So you actually basically ship all the data to Algolia and then use them to actually search. So during a search criteria, you're not actually searching on the Cloud Firestore, you're actually using the Algolia API to actually give back the result for that. So, and most of them are basically, I'm not doing much coding here. It's just like, using stuff to build an app. So another thing is basically a lot of people say that, okay, well, I'm using Firebase. There could be a problem, if I'm using it. So one of the things that we actually looked into was basically use the emulator for most of the stuff. Do it local. It was tricky, because we didn't have enough data initially. So people working in isolation on their local actually helped us to save the cost. So most of the things that you have, there's an emulator suite, you configure it, and then you get almost all the functionality that is there on the web running locally. So there's no cost. So you can actually do load testing locally. Okay, and that goes almost close to 1 minute or 2 minutes. As a summary, Firebase is a product from Google. There's around 20, 30 plus features. It's a BaaS, it's a backend as a service. It can handle auth. It's a database. It can store files and images. NoSQL, I think it's not something to be scared of. Actually, it's very easy to use. You can actually add relationship within NoSQL. You can interact with the data. You can subscribe to the data, like using Firebase extension, and security comes built in. So the three categories it has, build faster and easier, understand and improve your app using crash analytics, performance, etc., etc., and then grow and engage more users using Google Analytics and Firebase messaging. And then, as I said, it supports multiple SDKs. So you can iOS, Android. I think I should have a Flutter one here soon. Web and C# and Flutter itself, which is actually an iOS and Android version, but kind of hidden. That's it. I thought there will be people who will be newbies, so there's like a place where you can what the path we went through to learn about Flutter and Firebase working together. So this is the link for that. And thank you. And see if you are actually creating something. And I saw a lot of hands raised, so you're definitely creating something with Flutter and Firebase. Thank you for that. Any questions? Yep. So we didn't burn the money. That's for sure. The app has been vetted to a few NGOs, who were looking into that. The market, what we thought of, jumping on it, that hasn't happened. It is basically still in that phase. It looks like we may have to also think of a better UX in terms of onboarding exercise. Because I think it's almost like a chicken and egg situation. If NGOs are there trying to promote and get some karma out of it, then users are going to join in. So if you actually have try before you buy, does not work for us. So we are kind of trying to get more NGOs. I think there is some at 4 or 5 in Sweden who are actually engaged with this. But I think we needed to make it a platform, which is still working out, how to do that. So we were using test for the app. So what do you mean by testing? Unit test, So we actually went through a proper unit test and. Okay. No, nothing else. Thanks again, guys.